Hello, Sandra, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So, we are doing episode 32 of our Voices of Strength series. And every week we highlight different victims of police homicides and we highlight their stories and we have their families and loved ones come on and join with us. So, this week we are talking about Shawn Billinger. He is the loved one of Sandra Myre. And this is actually a special survivors episode combo because she herself has been assaulted by police and is here to tell her story with us today, as well as share about her loved one. Sandra, if you can just say hello again, thank you for being here. Share your location and your loved one's name and the PD involved in both.
Okay. My name is Sandra Myre, and my son Colton had lost his father, Shawn Joseph Billinger, on January 16th, 2019. Zachary Helbig of Fort Lupton PD decided to take his life without de-escalate measures. Shawn was in a mental crisis. He had just lost his father. And instead of seek more information to where you could talk a person down and do your job correctly, they took the first chance they could and executed him. So I will continue my fight for Shawn till the day I die. And the reason I believe that they didn't take any measures and they lied and covered up their brutality is because in 2010 they did the same thing to me, but I survived it, and I had to live with their lies. I had to live in a town where their lies harmed me. They continued to harass me. They pulled me over. They gang stalked me up to when even Shawn was living here. He said that they were driving by our house a couple times a week. He was even in fear when he lived back out here. So the fight is real.
Thank you, Sandra, for sharing all of that and just for being here again. These stories, they're not easy to share. And just how we're going to get into more details, but for people watching, just always a reminder, these are the true stories. These are real and raw details that you won't find anywhere else. There's not a lot of support for families and people who are victimized by the police. And as Sandra shared, she knows and believe, like she understood what happened to Shawn and why they got away with it because it happened to her. So she'll be sharing both of those and touching on some of the horrible details that nobody should have to live through. So that being said, Sandra, it's your time to share, your time to speak. I know it's been hard. It's been a long time. And wherever you would like to start, and I'm here to listen. We got people supporting and listening.
We could start. Shawn was from Victoria, Kansas. He moved here in the 6th grade. I was 12 when I met him. He taught me how to play chess when I met him. He was one of the tallest people in 6th grade I could remember. And everybody had a nickname for him. They call him Big Bird because he was so tall, so blonde, and he had those flyaway, like, he had really nice hair. I'm not gonna lie. His hair would feather, it curled. The girls loved it. He was a very handsome young man. But he was very, very tall. I mean, it was his tallness, I think, that intimidated people because even at 12, he was like 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
So back then, he played football when he was in junior high. And then he kind of got into like heavy metal music and started doing like Metallica shirts and stuff like that, looking like a rocker, wearing the dangly earrings, you know. But he always held a job. He worked at Fort Lupton Market. He always took his brother and his sisters to practice. I believed he was a good big brother. I mean, he had to do chores. He was a typical teenager, you know, fought with his parents about doing stuff and like that. But he had a complicated relationship with his parents. I'm not going to lie about that.
Mhm.
You know, I think they misunderstood him. A lot of alcohol back then. Shawn became an alcoholic early, and that's a hard thing because I didn't like alcohol. I struggled with that even in like my own family dynamic.
Mhm.
So with our family dynamic, when me and him and Colin started becoming a family, that was a struggle. But I never stopped loving Shawn. I never, you know, ever. There was always a deep love for him. He was always my best friend. He taught me how to shoot guns. He taught me how to shoot bow and arrows. He taught me how to fish. He'd get annoyed. We'd go fishing, and I'd open my book right after we'd plop our poles out because I love to read. And I'd catch a fish, just read in
Mhm.
a book, and I'd have more fish than him. He taught me life. There's nothing, you know, you can't repay a person for that. He taught me how, if anything happened in this world, how to go out there and survive no matter what. He saved my life more times than I could count. I'm not saying he couldn't be a jerk because we're all jerks. We all get mad, we all get angry, we all have times. But this guy suffered from brain damage early on in life. So there was some attributes to why he got simply upset at times and ways you would have to approach him because he did have brain damage. Um, Even me, when we split up, when we did, I knew all this back then. There was nothing I did not know about Shawn. There's nothing never continued not to know for 30 years plus. That's unconditional love. I loved him regardless. I may not have liked some of the things he did, but I always forgave him. And my door was always open to save his life and keep him safe. That's all I ever wanted for him. He got mixed up in drugs with a certain crowd of ours down here when we were, let's say, about 20. And I guess, like a stupid woman does, I gave him an ultimatum. I'd come home from work and he was gone. Broke my heart, but I never stopped loving. I was just scared to let him back in. I'd always let him come around, be near me, but I couldn't just give him my heart back like that. He deserved that love. He deserved it. He deserved to be loved. By far, he was a good guy. Hell, he helped me do social studies, but he didn't even know how much he helped me graduate. These are the little things he just didn't even recognize.
And that's something that we do this show for. And all of the things you're sharing, they're important. They're important for other people to see that, hey, this isn't just somebody that was killed by police. This is a real person. He had real people that loved him. He has a family and loved ones, children, child. A lot of these victims have children.
He cried when Colton was born. You know what was funny? He goes hunting and like he was like ultimate, what's in the earth, you don't take what you don't need, you save everything, you use everything. He was really about, what you take from the earth, you better give back because you won't get replacement if you desecrate the earth, its belongings.
Yeah.
That's how he
Yeah.
believed. This is not a person that's out to be hateful and just want to hurt people just because. Okay? He never hurt anybody just because, ever. He was always a fight or flight. I'm not giving him any excuses, but with a mental illness, when you feel threatened, it's fight or flight. That's why you got so many runners when
Yeah.
cops pull them.
Yes.
That's why you have so many runners. That's why we have so many people dead. And nobody's understanding it, least of all these stupid cops.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note the drugs and the mental illness. That's something that a lot of people are struggling with, especially people being killed.
Well, and the drugs and mental illness, let's step on that. Okay. This last year in COVID, I haven't got my regular doses of medications. I'm sitting here with cancer. I have bone degeneration. I have no bone in my neck and my back. But I couldn't even get my doctor to give me my regular prescription. And I have insurance. And all these people that go out there and have these problems, nobody's touching. Oh, we just got mental illness out there. Or look at all these crazy people. Wake up, people. Wake the fuck up. There's a reason we have all this crazy in the world. It's because you know what? People are not being heard and they're not being treated. And they're not being treated well by doctors, by people all the way around. When you see
Yeah.
someone with a mental illness, you don't exacerbate the problem.
My goodness. You are touching on some real topics, some things that sometimes get touched on in these shows, but it's overall, it's a bigger picture. So thank you. And we invite people to come and hear these things, see how they connect with our loved ones' killings and other things going on in our country.
Okay. Shawn got remarried after he left me to this woman, Carol. And some things went south back in, I think, 2009 or something. She called me and Shawn had left. But he went and stayed at Front Range to get some help. And it did him good. That's when he got on disability. They found out he was either bipolar or something, but they know, it's in the system, right? They know it all because they sure know who we are when they come talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I know they know that he's mentally diagnosed, okay? I do know the cops, all of Weld County knows he's mentally diagnosed, okay? And this is back in 2008 and 9 this happened. And he started doing better. I mean, him and Carol split up, which did him well because I'm not gonna sit here and be mean to Carol, but they weren't in a healthy relationship. It was toxic. Anytime you got two drug addicts, and it could blow up in your face. I'm sorry to say, honesty is my policy, and you guys can't. If you're going to be in a relationship, you just gotta watch. be, and I'm talking about meth, goes drinking with it, and you have gun mix, anybody out there, but I was scared. And he got into a hospital and he got help, and I was relieved. And he started doing really good. He sobered up, he cut his hair, and I didn't even recognize who he was anymore. He was doing really good. Colton, at one time, our oldest son, was having issues. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what I seen out there. Court ordered him to go out there and stay with Carol, Josh, and Shawn. So when I was having problems with Colton, it got worse. The cops come out when I had told Colton to shut the computer off to go to bed. It was time to go to bed. And he said something and smart. And I went and played the computer, and he walked out the laundry room door, and I went to chase him like a dumbass because I can't look down. I have no range of motion in my neck to turn a lot, and I can't look up and down. I'm like,
Mhm.
but I tripped over my fireplace brick at the time. So that's why my mom called for an ambulance, okay? Because and I had just got out of spinal and nerve surgery for my C5 and C6 and had my spinal cord rebuilt. And so she was scared for me. She's like, stay put. And all I could think, and you could even hear me on 911 tape, saying, no, don't bring it. They're going to come kill me, which is weird.
Oh
Who
my
sits there
gosh.
like balls and saying they're going to come kill me? They're going to come kill me. And lo and behold, they come kill me that night.
Wow.
Because, okay, I'm in my pajamas. I'm like in a wife beater and boxer shorts out here watching my music awards. That when I told him to go to bed, okay, I was just chilling. And I wasn't even on no medication. What nobody understands is I can't take regular pain meds because I have a tore up stomach for some reason. I'm not okay to take pain medication, even with the anesthesia. They have to give me like anesthesia or I'm throwing up. Well, this was throat surgery, so I couldn't take. So they got me on a Valium, but I wasn't on nothing this night because I wanted to watch music awards. It was a few days before my birthday, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I had a little rum and coke, but I didn't drink more than one rum and coke because I don't drink a lot because I don't go out and drink. I don't. I just wanted to chill. I'm in my home. They came in my home. They told me to go in my bedroom and put some clothes on. So I had earlier that day been rearranging my drawers in my bedroom and doing all kinds of stuff. You know how girls are. So after like being anxiety ridden and the cops here, and there's 4 cops here, and I'm half undressed, and they're telling me to go in my room, and so as I'm going through my drawers, a cop opens my bedroom door, and I had no shirt on. So I covered my breasts. And I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, I I'm coming in here to see what you're doing. Do you have anything I need to be concerned about? I said, no, just that antique sword in the window. What the hell? I'm naked. He says, give it to me. Without thinking, because I'm naked, and all I'm thinking about is I'm naked, and he's in my room violating me already. I go get a sword that's in a sheath, not even blade ready. And I hand him to him appropriately. I didn't even take a step. He's at my door in my bedroom. My door is here. I was here.
My gosh.
So that shows you I'm 30 something feet. My mom measured over 30 feet when he shot me with the taser, because I handed him with the handle first. I actually went to turn around and just turn like that with the handle towards him, and he shot me. I dropped on the floor, but I didn't know I dropped on the floor. I thought I walked to the kitchen and I was standing behind him, and I told my mom, "You were standing here, Mom, and so was here." I didn't know the cops' names, but I could describe them because I knew what they looked like. And she says, "No, baby girl, you were on the floor convulsing." I heard my mom say, "Stop it. You're killing her." But the next thing I remember is this cop looking me in the face, and I'm scared, going, "What the heck you doing? Why are you here?" And it is true that you do wake up scared. When somebody just kills you, you're gonna wake up like an animal. I was a screaming freaking lunatic. I screamed. They beat my ass. They arrested me here. Okay. They tell me, "We got to put the cuffs on you." And I said, "What?" They said, "We got to put the cuffs on you because we pulled out our taser and tasered you." I said, "Yeah, but it was your mistake." Even me coming out of my tasering knew that they fucked up.
Wow. In
And
your
they're
own
like,
fucking
"No."
home.
Yeah, they're like, "No." So they continued to beat me and say I resisted arrest. They put me through my family room wall.
Oh my.
All this time, my babies, Brittany and Evan, my youngest ones, Colton, I didn't know where Colton was. Mind you, he ran out. And then the cops come in and took hold of me. So my other kid was out in the dark somewhere. I didn't know. My other two were in the bedroom sleeping, and my mom, my 67-year-old mother who called for medical help, watching 4 fucking men with guns come in her house, beating her daughter and killing her, which they made my mom go get a pair of our red pliers and take those prongs out, which was illegal. And there's no written reports from none of them. They didn't even get none from my mom or Pat Rucker, who was here.
Gosh.
They got nothing. They walked off of here like they did Breonna freaking Taylor. They did to me on the reports what they did to Breonna Taylor. So I know they're liars. There's not nothing on those reports. So they're a liar. They're brutally beat people. They murder people, and they get away with it every damn day. They don't even care if somebody's having a medical issue, because if you're acting fucking funny, you gotta be on drugs, so you need to die. That's their mentality. Sorry, I'm losing.
No, Sandra. And you're sharing your truth. You're sharing your.
This pisses me off, Marissa, because they did it to me. I watched a guy at the zoo, my last time at the zoo, a black man that the cops approached. And I felt weird when they approached him, because when I looked at the black man, I felt like there was something amiss, but it wasn't like he was like, I felt like something medically was amiss.
Mhm.
Later that night on the news, I heard they killed him.
Wow.
So, I mean, and there it was mere minutes I had seen that guy. We looked eye contact. Yeah, wow.
At the fucking zoo.
At the zoo, Denver Zoo one year. The
Wow.
Denver Zoo one year. And this was just maybe gosh. This was right after I got hurt, after I got tased. And it was like maybe I had to be about 2013, 2014. It was when the kids went on a field trip and I took all the kids and the teachers got mad at me because I have a big issue with the bullying here too. Because hollering come the same cop that come tasered me. A few months later, my daughter was being beat up by two girls. So there was threats when I went back for her to take her back. So when I went to go to the school to take her back, I took her phone, and Evan. They segregated me, Evan, and Brittany away from each other with the phone. So I had no phone to prove what I was trying to say with hollering in that room with me that beat me and tasered me and killed me already and went and took me in a field and parked and left me like he was going to hurt me in the car. So
Wow.
this is a cop that's already left me alone. He's got me in a room with all these school
Wow.
facility people making me gaslighting me. He's gaslighting me.
How long
So
after was that?
that
How
was
long?
okay. I was tasered in October of 2011. Then this was February of 2012.
Wow. So just months. Or
Yeah, it was on my son Colton's
yeah.
birthday, February 21st, that I went in front of the school. And then in August, Janae Lucero Valdez hung herself, wrote her mom a note, and said it's because she seen what Officer Holleran did to me, beat me in front of the school. So she felt she had no recourse to go to that school because she was bullied. And she didn't want what happened to me to happen to her mom. So she had no one to tell.
So this was a student that
This was
witnessed
a 12-year-old student at Fort
that.
Lupton Junior High.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did call Safe to Tell when Brittany was bullied, and all those Safe to Tell calls were all lost when I went to court to fight this battle through the kangaroo court in Fort Lupton. And then
Sandra.
my lawyer that defended me there in the Fort Lupton Kangaroos court was buddy with the chief of police there. Her dad was friends. They played golf. So imagine how I lost and I got a felony for kicking hollering, which I never did.
So was that from the first incident where he went to
No,
the
my
second?
first felony is my own. I admit to my felony. I had a DUI in 99. I
Mhm.
hurt somebody in my car. They dislocated their hip. I own that. And I have to live with that. I do not drink. I do not drink and drive. You know, like I said, I own my shit. What I do not own is somebody lying on me on paper.
Mhm.
I had Lori Hughes, Colton's guardian ad litem, take me in a little room in Weld County Courthouse and tell me that they could put anything on paper and it will stick to the wall. And she wasn't lying, the bitch.
Wow.
She
Can
has
you tell
fucked me
us?
over for 11 years.
Can you?
That's
Gosh.
gaslighting. That's
And
gaslighting.
it sounds like just a lot of connections. And Fort Lupton. Can you
Well,
give us
back
a little more background about the area?
then, Lori I'm talking about, that when we went, we had Judge Conway. Judge Conway, I drove her crazy so bad. She kicked me out of the courtroom. And after she kicked me out of the courtroom, she tasered a teenager that was on crutches. So she got kicked out
Huh?
to supervise probation. Okay. Mind you, that made a name for me in Weld County,
Wow.
right? Because I pissed off Magistrate Conway. So then Colton's court case goes to Judge Alcott. Judge Alcott overseeing Shawn's murder case.
I
The
want to back
murder
up real
case.
quick.
Go ahead.
I want to just do the quick connection. So we got the police, you got things connecting with the schools, and then inside the courts, we got judges, you got all these different areas, and that's why it's a small area.
Okay, and let's get back. Yes, very much so.
I
It's
want to
very
know.
small. 6,000 people, I think. And we'll get back and touch again on Shawn's family. His mom was a security guard, okay, out at St. Vrain for many years. And off and on, probably around some of the jails here. Okay. She grew up in that kind of environment. Tanya, the daughter, is a cop out in Trinidad. And all Tanya's friends. She grew up here. She was pretty well known in Fort Lupton. And the resource officer at the time that I was having so many problems with the school, lo and behold, her best friend was the resource officer. That day that they were trying to jump me out there, she was there with the hollering, and they were trying to get me on a violation of a restraining order for Colton, which Colton wasn't even there. This tells you how corrupt they are. They're trying to get me on a restraining order for contact that the person's not even there, just saying his name. I'm not supposed to say, I can say his name. There's no law for that, but they're trying to violate a restraining order. Throw me, he beat me in front of these kids. This is what I'm saying. You know, Shawn was gaslighted by his own family. Anytime he did something wrong, his mama would say, I'm going to call Tanya. Her and her friends will just come pick you up.
This kind of shit that is real, and it's real. They're not joking.
Yeah. And Shawn was wanted by his family. I guess you just got to pick what family you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? His son, Colton, is the spitting image of his dad. He loved his dad. Shawn worshipped his son. You guys don't understand how much that boy meant to Shawn. It breaks my heart because that's what me and Shawn would tell me. He wanted Colton to think the best of him at the end. And all he got was this. And it kills me every day because that's not what Shawn wanted for his story. We had talked about it. He wanted to stay here with me. He wanted to help me with my cancer. He was going to help me around the yard. He was trying to find a way out with Jackie. He did break up with her on Christmas and try to get her out of his life because she kept pushing him back into the drugs he didn't want to be in. The boy that he was with, that she had, he was worried about that boy. He didn't want to leave that boy alone with Jackie because Jackie was making choices he was worried about. For once, I believe Shawn in that. I believe Shawn. Well, I shouldn't say for once. There's a lot of things. Shawn didn't need to lie to me. Because there's one thing about Sandy. I had that radar. It's called the truth serum. You can't lie to me. Mm-hmm. I'll see right through you. And he knew that from the very get-go, from when we were kids. Mm-hmm. So he just never did it, with me. He tried when we were young and I bust his ass, and it's easier just to be real. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm a lot nicer when it ends. That's just how it works out. If I thought of something that he was being dishonest, I'd just say, hey, is this how it is? And he'd just be like, yeah. Mm-hmm. How guys are, come on. How women, would you confront them? It just depends how you can reach a person, Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter, you can ask anybody in this town about Shawn and Sandy. We may not have been together, but everybody knew that we were linked together always for eternity. Mm-hmm. That's just, I couldn't even get another gosh darn guy because everybody was so worried about Shawn. Okay.
And again, you knew him since you were 12. Like, you guys were like longtime friends. You shared that, even though what happened between you guys, always had that relationship. You share a child. There's a lot.
Yeah, we shared a lot of things in childhood. We weren't together at 12 and we were friends. Mm-hmm. I remember we would just, what was weird in junior high, we took electives. I would never think he would take an elective just to hang out with me and talk to me, but he did. you know, and that was pretty cool. But back in junior high, I was still really scared to even have those kind of boyfriends and be that kind of girl or like get serious, you know. There was just a lot on my family's plate. I lost my dad when I was 9 years old. So one day he's there at 7:30 saying, I'm playing out there with my stupid cars. I remember this, my box cars. He's like, come give me a kiss. And I'm like, Daddy, I'm playing. You gotta have all the time in the world. I'll see him tomorrow. That next day, he told me he was dead. And I've never forgotten that feeling. That's a feeling you don't ever forget as a child. My hero, my savior, my everything in one day was just ripped. So when Shawn had walked out that day and abandoned me when I gave him the ultimatum, it's kind of how I felt. And it made me scared. I've never let nobody in since like that, ever. Nobody's lived with me like that. Nobody's been my Shawn was my person. He's the longest man I lived with. He's the one that I cooked with, the one that annoyed me a lot, you know. But you wouldn't think he'd take bubble baths with me by candlelight. We'd have romantic candlelight dinners at midnight. I mean, he was that man to me. We'd go out and park in the moonlight and sit on the car and just talk and listen to the radio. That's who he was to me. They took that man. They took him and they didn't even know. They just assumed he was troubled. I knew he was troubled. Jackie didn't even help him. He swore she was out to kill him, setting him up with Fort Lupton cops and these drugs. And she called and set him up, just like he said. It's all
So
in
he had
video.
said that prior, just he felt that was happening. And this is something for people watching and that aren't aware of these things. This is not uncommon for families to share these things that people are experiencing before they're killed by police. It's not the first time or second or third or the fourth, even on this show alone in this series.
I'm trying to find you.
I was like, where'd you go?
No. Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
There you are.
There we there we go.
I'm not tech savvy, people. Sorry.
All good. So I want Sandra, you shared that he was already having these fears, things are going on, funny things. You shared what happened to you, some things. I want if you can share with us how you found out, like when you first, and then just kind of what happened surrounding that, and what was the narrative? What did you find to be true?
You guys are gonna trip out on this. Okay. We're sitting here, and at first, me and my daughter Brittany are sitting in my room, and she had just had my grandson. Okay, Squally, he was born 2 months early. So he was in ICU. Okay, so we were making trips back and forth. And at this time, it was really hard to get in contact with Shawn. Okay, I could not find him and see him because Jackie, while we were at the hospital, showed up here and took him off my property. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let her. Okay, I would have helped Shawn all I could. Okay, but I could she was like, it was like I couldn't talk to him in Messenger because it was her responding, or she would erase my responses, or just she was involved all the time in Shawn's biswack. So I could
Wow.
not get Shawn alone. And he wasn't here in between, like, say I'd show up, he'd be gone. So I didn't know like how to get a hold of him because he wasn't answering his phone to me. There was an episode that she had told me prior about my neighbors wanting my chickens and him doing a trade with my chickens. I said, before he does that, hit me up, because if he needs money, I'll give him my money. I'll give him whatever he wants. He don't need to be selling something of mine, my drunk chicken or whatever, to my neighbor. And so I guess it ended up happening. And so I asked him, and he got a little offended and hurt, and he thought I was going to make him leave, which I wasn't. Okay. I wasn't going to let him leave me off the property. That's how scared I was for him. Okay. So, I hadn't been able to, last time I physically seen Shawn, he was running to Jackie's car through the field. I was looking out my bathroom window here in my bedroom, and he was running because I heard noise, and I thought, is that him? And he had just went and met Jackie at the road. And I seen him get in and then drive off. And I hadn't been here more than 10 minutes. So that's probably why he left, because he was scared of me. You know, things were being said, and he didn't need to be scared, because I am not going to throw him off my property. I wanted him to personally come talk to me, not with Jackie. Things were going on with them because he went to 7-Eleven house. Things were happening to him, and I was worried that it was going to escalate, which I wasn't wrong. I always had that intuition. So this is like a week prior to that, and then so we're sitting here, and Brittany says somebody hit her up on Facebook and says, "Why is your foster sister's house surrounded by cops?" And she lives down by 9th Street, my foster daughter Dominique. And I said, "Oh shoot!" So I called Dominique and I said, "Dom, what's going on?" Like a mom does. "What are you doing? Where's the cops over there?" And she's all, "I don't know, Mom. Let me go out and look." So she goes outside and she's looking, and she literally seen Shawn drive by her house. Like, he slowed down at the stop sign, went. She said she seen his arm, but she didn't know it was him. Mind you, Dominique has no knowledge at this time that she's describing this person to me. She has no knowledge it's Shawn, but she has no knowledge I'm tripping balls by now. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
The minute she said ban and I see an arm, I don't even know why. I just start screaming, "It's Shawn." Brittany's like, "Mom, shut up, stop." I'm like, "No, it's Shawn. Let's go." I'm like grabbing her car keys. She's flipping out, telling me that. Honestly, we got in a fight because she didn't want to believe me. It was Shawn. I dragged her and my granddaughter to the car, drove all the way to Fort Lupton. I drove, and she's like, "Mom, stop. It's not Shawn." And she's calling Raina at this time because I had hung up with Dominique. She had called Raina, which he had been over at my old friend's house that I grew up with, and her daughter is Raina. Okay, our kids had all grown up together. And Shawn had went over to Christy, which is my friend of past. And they just feed into, they're a bunch of enablers. That's all I can say. Is he's with a bunch of enablers that will take his last dime and leave him with nothing out on the street, out in the cold. Okay. And that's what they were doing to him. Okay. He wasn't allowed in nobody's house. But this is their friend, right? This is their friend that they would do drugs and drink with. Okay. But they're treating him like this. Jackie's taking him to people like this. and not thinking after he lost his dad that this is what he needs, right? So of course he's spiraling down because people are treating him like shit. And he's not with his family that needs to support him because he lost his dad. And he needed that. He needed to be with his son who lost his grandpa. No,
Yeah.
this girl took him away from him to get him psyched up on drugs, call the cops on him and say, hey, he's doing drugs, blah, blah, blah. He's doing this. Not saying that she's all a part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
She's been a part of the whole shenanigan the whole time. He got him back into drugs because of her. He was clean. We were going to get back together when this court stuff come up. But lo and behold, my back child support was sitting in an account. Kathy Billinger took me for child support. And when my son was 17, Kathy took everything, all 17 years of my back child support. So me raising Colt for 17 years amounted to nothing because Kathy took all my money and told Colton and then that she'd pay them off if they kept quiet.
Wow.
And my son told me that. So this is how bad fucking blue line cop bullshit runs.
Yeah.
My son's scared
Gosh.
of the courts. My son's scared of not all of them. My whole family's like this. We all have
Yeah.
PTSD because of them.
How old is your son now?
Colton's 26. He just turned 26 in February. And it's hard on him, you know. Even yesterday, me and him talked because he come for his niece's birthday. And every day we talk about how, you know, we cry for his dad. I cry every day for his dad. I may not have been with him married. I may not have been so-called his gal, but I loved him.
Yeah.
And it hurts because I look at Colton and I look at my grandkids and I know what they'll never have because he could have taught him some cool shit. He's smart. He was artistic. He made some of the coolest Indian art that he was brilliant, but nobody just encouraged that. And sometimes I'm not gonna lie, it was hard on me because fighting somebody's depression
Yeah.
alone is hard.
Yeah.
And I needed support even from his family, and I couldn't get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So can you share with the people watching? And we know as impacted people that justice doesn't exist, that the police are not held accountable, but just for people who will watch that aren't aware, um, just the narrative that was first released, and then also what you know now, and if there's been any type of justice, just if you could touch those.
All right. So when he was shot, they kind of tried to hush it all up that day. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but prior to what happened to me in 2010 and them covering everything up and making it like I never existed, actually they went around saying that I was a drug addict, which I wasn't. Okay, but the bottom line is they took that narrative out of my hands and made me seem like a crazy person just talking smack, and I deserve what I got from the cops. Just like that, they did that to Shawn. Okay, they went to the news. The news was already talking about him being a felon and stuff like that. Shawn had trouble past, but Shawn had not had that trouble past for over 20 years, you guys. He straightened up because you know what? One thing, when he got in trouble when I had Colton, I was pissed at him. I was so, I don't know how to explain it, but I honestly, I think he wanted to look good in my eyes at all times, and that's what I cared about. That he cared about that with me. Nobody ever did that for me, And you know what? He was a better man for it because he did try. He did try. And this is a guy who starved and had to go out. He couldn't even hunt no more because he got a felony, but he couldn't even hunt, but he was starving to death because he didn't get disability and he didn't have money. And, I see people struggle with hunger and homelessness here all the time. So the day that when he got killed, Zach Helbig shot him. They didn't even help him. They didn't even go to him to resuscitate him. Actually, Zach said he stunk.
Wow.
That's what I remember. Oh, he stinks. So they
Wow.
weren't about to, yeah. They didn't take the handcuffs off. They It was just like the thing I have the problem with is you shoot somebody and you honestly think they're going to be able to move and do what you say. You could have paralyzed them. They can't even move a limb, but you're going to continue shooting and tasering them because they cannot move and do what you say. That's extra. That is brutality. That's excessive force, and you've crossed the freaking line. Point blank. I mean, they chest shot Shawn. They shot him right here in the chest, point blank.
My goodness.
He bled out. They hit his heart. It went in his liver, in his kidney, and it landed down through his hip and went spiraled down to his foot and spread out in his foot and stayed there in his foot, in his left foot. I have his autopsy report.
Yeah.
So he bled out. That's how Shawn died. He didn't die an easy death. Bleeding out isn't an easy death. And when people sit here and say, well, it was quick,
No.
but, I just, no matter how you cut the semantics, I don't know. There's thousands of videos I've watched since Shawn's died, since I've joined these groups,
Yeah.
and my heart breaks every time for every family like it's my own. I don't know how we could do this.
Yeah.
I get scared every day for my boys leaving. I know those cops pull my boys over. I've had phone calls where my son's scared for his life. So I can imagine just what these parents feel when they lose their child, because I have to feel that almost feeling 3 times a year when my
Hmm.
youngest is calling me because Weld County and Fort Lupton are pulling them over.
Gosh, it's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Gosh.
And they have say the night that they announced Zach Helbig, they pulled my daughter-in-law over. They pulled eh, honestly the record for my youngest son that they pulled over. It's just so bad, and he's black, and there's not a black ratio big in this town. Like I said, we're more of I'd say a Latino town, which isn't bad, but there's not a lot of blacks, and so my son's picked out.
Hmm.
And it's not like he looks black, but he has to register black. And my
Hmm.
family has BLM license plate now.
Hmm.
Who does that in a town that's Republican that don't like BLMs, right?
Hmm.
You know how that rolls in it.
Gosh, so much.
Well, you're right. It is. It's scary. It's like being back in the 50s, segregated with the Ku Klux Klan, and I'm
Hmm.
even white, and I feel threatened. You know, that's a white person telling you they would feel threatened living like that with a Klan member.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
scary. You know, I've never believed in that. I don't believe that any person should ever, if you're going to be judged, you should be judged on the merit of how you put yourself out there in your soul.
Mhm.
You know if a person's soul's dirty or if they're not. But it's not my place to put that judgment on you, because I have met God. I've met God a couple times, and he says, girl, you ain't ready for me yet. You got to go back down there and work. So the thing is, if you're ready for that big man to make you think who you really are, I don't think people are ready for that, because it's true. When you die, you see everything you've done. It is true. You do see and live all your shit, your sins, all at once. And it's overwhelming. It took me a long time. It took me almost 2 years to come to terms with, why didn't God want me? I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to leave my kids and my mom. But I was never the same. I was never the same that night those cops did that to me. Shawn wouldn't wanted to have died that day. Where people think caught by suicide is acceptable, what's unacceptable is if you think caught by he wasn't ready to commit suicide. That cop just murdered him. First off, you got to know somebody who loved him and knew him. I walked in that cop station and I knew exactly what Shawn had in his pockets. Well, it's funny when you call that video up and those cops are pulling out his pockets. You have Sandra Myre in a cop video stating what he had in his pocket. I haven't been with him in 2 weeks. I just said that. I haven't seen Shawn in 2 weeks. How would I know what he put in his pocket? This is from knowing a man, knowing him, knowing who he is, knowing his habits, knowing what he would do, knowing how he puts his pants on, his shoes on, how he combs his hair, all of it. I knew Shawn Joseph Billinger. I did not hesitate, but he would not hurt that cop. He wouldn't have done nothing but try to run away. He was scared. He knew that day that cop was out to kill him. He knew that was his last fucking day because he had stated it to me that he was feeling like he was being set up. And I don't know if Jackie had any prior contacts with Mr. Helbig prior to Shawn's death, but he stated in that video, oh yeah, I remember you two.
Wow.
So it sounded like he did have contact with Jody and Jackie prior to Shawn's death.
That's
So if you listen on the video, you can hear it, but nobody put it together. And I've always stated all along, Shawn said Jackie set him up with Fort Lupton in those drugs, even though she was a drug user too in doing drugs. Or in fact, she was using the drugs to keep Shawn attached to her.
wow. Wow. Just so much, Sandy. And then you are brave and bold and you're sharing this shit with us and you're sharing these names of these people involved. And I have to say, I commend you for that and for speaking for Shawn. I just think about when I have families on here, like, damn, he would be, look, what are they thinking looking down at what you're doing and you're sharing? And we know each other because of our loved ones' deaths and your tragedy. So,
Shawn
gosh,
loved his family. Shawn loved his family. I'm not going to say he didn't, but he was misunderstood by his family and he felt very threatened at times because they were not always on the best terms. Yes, he did drugs. So they said that they didn't want him around while he did drugs. But then that left him homeless on the streets, them not knowing. And the only way Kathy knew anything is through Jackie. So Jackie always had the narrative, and she was the one who helped kill him. Mind you, the reason I say that, 2 years prior to this, in Nebraska, on a drug and fuel night with all of them and her son, Zachary stabbed Shawn. Shawn ended up going to the hospital in Nebraska with the stab in his back.
Wow. Wait.
Yes, ma'am. Shawn was stabbed
Wow.
2 years prior before he died by Jackie's son. And then I got a letter after all this happened from my friend Shane, that's sitting in Will County right now, jail, that told me that he had kind of got in contact with Jackie after Shawn's death, and that Zach went at him with a hatchet. So there's more to Jackie and her little crew than meets the eye.
Wow.
And what's sad is we have a mental young man that isn't capable of caring for himself amongst all those people doing stuff like that, that puts Jody in danger. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's why Shawn stuck around to save Jody. And I said that in the police interview. He was only there to keep Jody safe. He
Wow.
was scared for Jody. But then I didn't think Jackie would be like this because she had loved Shawn even in high school. But who knows? People flip shit all the time, turn into crazy people. So, and meth does a lot of crazy stuff, I found out. So, I don't know. All I know is what Shawn told me, that he feared for his life, that he felt Jackie was setting him up with the cops.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, that's exactly how his death went down. And I'm beside myself every day because I needed him here. I wanted him here. We have grandkids. We just had a new granddaughter. It was weird. When he died, I looked at Tamara. Not Shawn, it was Shawn's girlfriend at the time, but I looked at her and I said, "You're pregnant." And she looked at me. She had to be only a week pregnant, girl. A week pregnant.
Wow.
1 week. But I told her she was already pregnant. I knew it. And I go,
Wow.
"It's gonna be a girl, watch. It's gonna be a girl, but you're pregnant." And I know it. And eight months to the day of Shawn's death, Janae was born.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
Wow.
crazy stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy. And that's another detail just for people watching, and a lot of people that are killed were expecting. They were expecting babies. Babies were born after they were killed, including my brother. So
Yeah. And
there's
to make it, to put narratives out there like the family, this person's bad, this person did this or that. They have families, man. They have kids that see this shit in the future. And you know what? You don't want to be slandered, then mind your shit. Or guess what? It's going to be slung right back.
yeah.
Right back. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's
Yeah.
go.
And the crazy thing is, like, hey, we're actually telling the truth and you guys are actually lying. So why are you guys mad? We can't even tell the truth and they could just be full of lies.
Well, I sit here and think about it. And, for a long time, I would write this stuff out on the internet and people would be like, "You're going to get yourself sued." And I'm like, "No, because they don't want to open it up." You want to know why they don't want to
Mhm.
open it up? Because that means the truth will come out and they'll look like
Yep.
the fucking fool. I already know the game and
Yeah.
the truth will come out. I'm not scared. I
Yeah.
am not fucking scared. I will go down dying saying my truth. Let's go. I'll
Yep.
tell these cops just like, girl, right after my mom died, the cops come in my yard and literally told me that they would shoot me because I was moving too fast.
Wow.
I moved too quick. You're moving too fast. You need to stop that or I'll shoot you.
Wow.
My son-in-law goes, "Sandy, stop it." And I looked at him, I said, "Fuck him, Ollie. Let him do it. with all you witnesses, they'll have a big lawsuit.
Oh, fuck.
And those cops looked at me like I'm crazy. You're damn
Yeah.
right. You want to come on my property and act a big ass with big guns? Get your freaking butt off my property with that shit. Who you think you are? You have no right coming around with guns like that. You don't
Gosh,
want
and
to
you're in your
after
own
you
home,
in
your
my
own
own
property,
home.
your own home.
Mind you, the day George Floyd died, you guys are going to trip on this shit. The day that they were holding George Floyd down on that cement, they were holding me in my house with 7 deputies here because they assumed I didn't water a goat. One goat named Willie. I had in the back. They assumed he didn't have water. They couldn't see because my weeds were big, but I had little water buckets over the area. Like he could walk on his chain and like go around in my field because I would go out and rechain them in places. Well, the day George Floyd died, they come out and held me at gunpoint, come on my property and try to write me a ticket for a goat.
Wow.
Assuming he didn't have water. 7 cops.
Wow.
I had me, my 5-year-old granddaughter at the time,
My gosh.
and my 2-year-old grandson. If they would have shot in my house, you guys, they would have killed 2 babies and me.
My goodness, Sandy.
Because I wasn't coming out. I had a no trespassing sign. They did not have a search warrant, but they were trying to brutalize their way in by saying that they could come in, even though I said I would not talk to them without a lawyer, that they weren't allowed to talk to me without a lawyer. And the only thing that saved me was someone who showed up here from my past that lived with me, one of my old girlfriends from when I was 4 years old. She was in the house at the time the cops showed up. So she walked out there and she goes, I heard her say that you're not allowed on her property and she won't speak to you. You need to get. So them finding out I had backup, and then I called my daughter, Brittany, had to leave her job. Ashley come. I had my neighbor Angie here. They were all filming this. My neighbor Dwayne, they were all here surrounding the cops, telling them to leave me alone as they were murdering George Floyd.
Wow. And I can only imagine you're in there with your grandbabies, like, and that's the same home that they've already harmed you in. My goodness.
Hey, let me tell you something real freaky. Earlier that day, I was pissed. Zachary Helbig had got back on the force, okay, as this is going on back in May. So Zachary Helbig had got on the force, and I was pissed they didn't call and tell us, okay? And that's Shawn's murderer, y'all.
Yeah.
So I was real pissed off. So I put out a petition, send the gun off the force, right? And so I called the DA and I'm bitching at him on the recorder saying, they should at least have the audacity to call families and warn us,
Wow.
So
yeah.
The DA's assistant called me. All right. I won't give out her name. I like her. But she called me, and for some reason, I was telling her about my incident with the cops out here in Weld County that day, and that I didn't tell you all that prior to these deputies coming out, a sergeant of Weld County had threatened me for annoying him. I was annoying him, so he was going to come arrest me.
Wow.
So when the DA's assistant called me and I'm bitching about Zach and saying all this shit, I go, oh, I brought that subject up about this sergeant. And I gave her his name and everything, told him who he was, and said, I don't know why I'm telling you about this threat, but I just feel like I have to tell you. Again, intuition, Marissa. Intuition. Okay. This is 10 in the morning that day when she called me. The incident happened at 3:30.
Wow.
So I told her, and then the cops come out here to arrest me. So the DA already knew that that cop planned to have a funky arrest on my ass. See what I mean about corruption and being smarter than the average Joe?
Gosh. So, and it's not, yeah, and these things are not coincidences. These are not just random. And then when we have all these families sharing their stories, sharing this kind of corruption and deep shit, it's not, it's true. These
What
are
the
the
cops
truth.
can't figure out is how I'm one step ahead of them. And I'll tell y'all, because God don't play with no fools. God don't play. They all try to fucking kill me. And when I come back and they lied on me and they keep lying and they take an oath. They take an oath on a Bible. I died. God brought me back. You take an oath on a Bible, cops. Let me laugh again. Let me laugh, because let me tell you something. I'm here to tell every damn cop that kills, he's coming for you. God is coming for you. You sit here and watch my post with karma, and you think it's us people that want you? No, it's not us. It's God. It's going to be the mass exodus of you because you guys don't quit lying. You hide an untruth. You murder people. It's almost like a free serial killer card.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're over it. We already know. The only ones stupid to this play are cop dick sucker family members. And I'm sorry if you all take offense, but some cop families do know the truth. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to sit here and say they don't. Because Shawn did tell me some things that he heard said that cops can get away with. And that's because it's the blue line. So there are two ways. It's that and us. And I don't like it any more than I ever heard it or when I felt it 10 years ago. Hell, I seen it back when we were kids. Shawn and Raymond got jumped. Raymond's a Mexican kid. Shawn's a rocker kid. They both had long hair. They wore those stupid those sword earrings, remember? To look like Cinderella and all them back in the day. Remember all the big hair? And they got jumped by the basketball team and football players. You know who got hauled into the jail? Shawn and Raymond.
Oh God.
No, nobody
Wow.
else. Not the people who did it. I got jumped in a bar. I got kicked off a chair from behind. Guess who got hauled into jail? Me.
Wow.
Not the person who assaulted me. She's still out there. She still got away with assaulting me. It was like a mob mentality. So it's like when you have like people in your town thinking one way, it's really hard to change that train of thought.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, wait till it happens to you. Why should we have to tell you that, really?
Yeah.
You
Why
have
should it
no
keep?
empathy. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
We all have people who have died. You can't feel sadness for somebody who has a murdered victim, and especially a murder victim by cop. That just shuts
Gosh.
you down. That, we heard about propaganda since we'll start, say when Hitler was. We can go back to 1931 and 33. I was watching Bitter Harvest, a movie where the UK starved their people, over 10 million people, but sat there and wrote out newspapers saying everything was okay. There's
Mm-hmm.
enough food for our people in our country, as they were burning bodies like they did to the Jews. So we have many, many, many genocides that we use propaganda on, that we lie to the people, and everybody's all, oh, it's okay. We believe it because that's just what's put in paper.
Yeah. 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 It could
Nobody
be
sees
our
further.
friends, our family, even, and they believe it. And,
It's
this is
like
something we all experience across the whole nation. So it's not just a problem, an isolated problem. It's
it's
their
a
way.
problem across the nation. You were right, Marissa. It's not just, it's everywhere. It's not just one person. Hate comes in all shapes and sizes. It doesn't have a color.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a religion. It just is. It just picks something you don't like, and it will tear your soul out.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do for that. But sit there and try to teach different. And you can't teach different if you're not willing to open your mind and expand. Like how I told my kids, don't walk like, I can't put both my hands like that. Like how you narrow minded. I
Mhm.
always say, it, mind wide open, mind wide open all the time. Be prepared for any obstacle, anything. And when something gets too aggravating and tough, take a step back, take a breath, re-get yourself, think about it, because you got it. It's always deep in your thought process. God don't let you down in that. There's things I've known I never even thought I knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do that. We could bring out those things. You just got to, it's like me knowing when Shawn died. I knew, I heard him tell me. I ran as fast. I would have taken his damn bullet. I would have died that day for him. And I know that don't make sense. But I didn't want him to die. And how many of us feel that way? Every day we think about our people we love and we would die for them.
Yeah. And their also their last moments, their last thoughts, and then especially the loved ones too, who knew that they were being thought out for whatever reason. It's something really hard to live with.
You know what I remember? I'm sitting in there. Fort Lupton wouldn't even let me out. Okay, it was really weird because it's like at the cops. I ran. Like I said, I made Brittany drive me to the police station. I run in the police station. They have me like on the front video as I'm running in there, and I'm telling the investigate records lady, "Did they just shoot Shawn Billinger? Did they just shoot my son's dad? Tell me they didn't shoot Shawn Billinger, my ex-husband. Tell me." And they're looking at me like,
Oh my gosh.
so they're like, hold on, let me send somebody. So they send a cop out to me. And then Jackie goes by, Raina's out talking to my daughter, and I'm thinking, all this is weird. Why is Jackie right there? And Raina, who had been on the phone with my daughter as we were leaving, is right here. And Shawn's dead. What's going the F on? And what I remember most is that cop looking out there and goes, "Well, Jackie, I'm bawling. I'm losing my shit, okay?" And she goes, "Well, she don't look too hurt."
Wow. Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
looked at the cop like, I didn't have no, I couldn't even, like, I still can't process that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Gosh. So
The next
much.
night, John Fry, the chief, when I called and asked him not to touch any of the videos, the 911 call, I go, "Don't you edit shit. Don't you touch them, and we'll know if you do. I got a lawyer coming to meet with you all." And I go, "This is Sandy Myre." And I had him on speakerphone, and I had Sage Rojas here. I had Colton, my son, and my other son, Evan. And all three of them were sitting here listening. And he goes, "I know who you are."
Oh my
I know, you should have seen all my kids' looks.
God. Oh God, that just
"Damn,
scared me a
mom."
little bit. Like, oh,
My kids looked up like, "Mom." I go, "Oh." I go, "Is that why you shot my husband?" Because no matter what, Shawn will always be my husband. And He left. Yes, we divorced, but we always loved each other, and he
Gosh.
always came back. So it wasn't like, we didn't even have to be together, but there was always love. And he would always be a part of mine. You know what I mean? Like I was a part of him.
Yeah.
That's probably why we never really settled down, because to us settling down was each other. And at the end, someone wasn't going to have it. They would
So,
rather not have him happy and use the drugs to take him out.
that's so much, Sandy. Um, I want to end this with something about Shawn. I know you shared a lot of good things with us, but I want you to just touch on Shawn and just one of your fondest memories with him. And again, repeat his name, repeat who he was taken by and the date, what he meant to you. That's
The
how I want
fondest memory of him is him talking.
to.
He loved to talk. Are you
Yeah.
listening? You would be all, are you listening? But his smile, I loved that I could go out in nature with him. I loved that he took me canoeing, horseback ride. Me and him could always go out and be one with nature. And that was us. That was our time. That's something he taught my son. Shoot, they always brought me rocks. There wasn't a time him and Colton couldn't go out together that they would come home with so many rocks and be so proud to show me, look at the rocks we got you. And I, till this day, I still have all those rocks from every time they went out. So he was a good soul. He was a troubled soul, but he just needed understanding and people that cared to support him. That's the difference. That's the big difference in changing this pandemic we have with brutality and murder. I mean, it's understanding, empathy, and how would you want to be treated if this was you? If this was your mom? I mean, or your dad, if they were sick and somebody come in and did this to them. Because Shawn that day prior had went in for a biopsy to find out if he had cancer. That's why he could never climb that fence. That's why he had a walking stick. Nobody asked. Jackie knew. Jackie knew exactly what was up, but nobody was willing to talk, give the true information. And we're all going to sit here and act like it's nothing. A man's dead over it. A man is dead over your incapableness of being forthright. All of it. And my grandkids lost their grandpa, and I'm not okay with that. I look at Jaden every day and I see Shawn. I can't even look at my grandson and not see his grandpa. Danae was just born. She has his eyes. Colton has Shawn's eyes. So every time I look into their eyes, I see my love that died, that needed help. So we need to do better. We need to do way better. What we are doing is not good enough. Biden and Harris are sucking. You know what? They just left everything be, thinking that it's a-okay. Well, you putting blinders on motherfuckers is not okay for me. Okay? I thought Trump was bad. But you doing nothing is just the worst. Just the worst. We got people in cages. We got people fighting to stay alive. We got people scared of our own police. We have nothing here to be okay and say, God bless America.
Absolutely. Gosh, all of that. And then it seems like not most of the people, but a lot of people are just oblivious to this. They think it's not real. They think it's not happening. No, it's not. So that's why we're here sharing the truth. And
Well, it happened to me in my own bedroom. I was sitting watching the MTV Awards. minding my own beeswax. I've never been that comfortable again, Marissa. I don't even like to drink. I've had one drink at a night, maybe a year. Like, I space it out, but you know what? I don't have nobody around me if I do it. Sure in the shit not like it how that was that night because I'm scared. They had
Yeah.
changed my whole way of being.
Yeah.
It's like a stroke victim. I am like a stroke victim. That night, my lights went out, and when I woke up, I was never Sandy Myre again. The way I had to learn to live was all new. And my poor kids were young and didn't even know what happened. They woke up and their mom was just fucked up.
Gosh.
Yeah. They would take me to the store. Colton would have to drive, and I'd be all, where are we going? What are we doing? I'd say that like 6, 7 times.
Oh,
You know how hard that is on a
gosh.
7-year-old, a 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old?
Gosh. Yeah. It changed everybody's life. It affected everybody deeply.
It took me a long time. I had to play farm bills so I could like do my, and I know I annoyed a lot of people, my friends, because I played games, memory games, so I could like get my memory back. But I didn't want to tell everybody that's how I did it. Like tried to fight to get my memory back. I had to do my own physical therapy. So
Gosh.
yeah, it was tough, girl. It was real tough, and it made me angry. It made me hateful. God bless my mom for putting up with me because it was hard. I know it was hard. Her watching her baby and seeing that her baby deteriorated and almost died, and I would cry. I would lay in her lap and be like, "Why, mom? Why? I just want to die. I'm not the same no more. I can't do nothing. I can't bring in money. I just, I lost my being. I lost who I was. And it killed me. And it killed her seeing it in me.
Yeah.
And nobody should have to suffer like that. And that's kind of why I empathize with the other families that are tougher on me and have went places and tried to hurt me in their way because I could see how my mom was hurt making that phone call that night and seeing what happened to her daughter. She could have lost
Yeah.
me that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a survivor's guilt because everybody who's lost somebody, I come back and I know what they're capable of. I know what they've done because they did it to me. And they continue and they hurt my babies. They have taken so much from my family. I'm on disability and I barely make 13 grand a year, but they managed to take 2 grand of it a year out of every year since they've tasered me since 2010. Weld County and Fort Lupton have taken my money. So they have harassed and gang stalked me since they come in my room that night to try to kill me. What was weird is but my dad died when he was 46. So I always felt like something bad's going to happen when I'm 46. Okay.
Mhm.
Just that, again, another eerie feeling. I was diagnosed with cancer in October at 46, and then Shawn was murdered at 46. So my omen was right. I thought
Gosh.
it would be me. In a way, it was, you know,
Yeah.
because the day they murdered Shawn, I quit really living totally.
Yeah.
I don't do nothing. I don't go out with nobody. I don't go nowhere. I haven't went to dinner with nobody. Friends, I don't go. It's, I'm scared that because the cops have been after me so much and hurt me and my children, that anybody I bring out and around may get hurt. That's what these cops have done to me. And it hurts me to think that if Shawn lived, so they knew he was here. They bothered him. Fort Lupton had his number. They
Gosh.
just they knew where to find him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that day Jackie called, they knew exactly who he was. You know what I mean? They knew who he was when Jackie called that day. Them
Yeah.
playing stupid, being like, "Oh, that's the first time we seen him or met." No,
They
that's a
knew.
lie. Well, it was a lie because in 2016, Zach Helbig had a his first encounter with Shawn on Jackie's property on 2nd Street. See, that's one thing he lied about in court. I know for a fact. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that he lied about on the stand that I was just like, oh, dude.
And
I'm
that's
not.
normal protocol, normal. They don't ever, have to face perjury or anything. And that's just normal for them. It's really, it's just
It is,
crazy.
and it's a shame for us as families, like how you all have to fight. And even when you go fight the civil cases, when you go in and fight civilly, you're gonna learn so much more. Trust me, Melissa, you will
Yeah,
find
that's where
out.
you get the
So
information.
yeah, you get they can't hide all of it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But it's sad you would have to go civilly first, like, to get it, to not to go back and have to go and file federal. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Because they
Yeah. And
lied.
it's I mean, it's backwards. And
Yeah, and like you said, half-assed, because
yeah,
we shouldn't have to fight civilly, then go back and file federal because they lied. Now we got more proof because
yeah,
you have to prove more proof to appeal a bad case, correct?
and we shouldn't have to prove any of it. We shouldn't even
That's
have to be
right.
doing the work and the
But
burden of
remember,
it.
anything you fight civilly that these families need to know that they have lied about, we could go back and appeal in any court
Mhm.
federally and go after these cops for murder and whatnot. Don't think you can't fight these boogers, people. You can get them. You can get them. You just got to have patience, and you got to be vigorous, and you got to be willing to go after them civilly for the truth. And it's a tough, tough, tough fight. But
Yeah,
don't let up.
they've really tried to get families not to do it, make them
They
lose hope,
do.
make them lose somehow, discourage or settle for a ridiculously low amount. So
They
yeah,
do, like
families.
having me in the cast from my neck all the way down to my foot. So when I went in there, they're like, "Hey, you don't want to go to trial, blah blah blah." I didn't even have a lawyer. I didn't have
Yeah.
nobody to fight for me. I wasn't even mentally competent. They tasered me, and I
Yeah.
got no help, none. They kept that one so under hush hush. And this is under the Obama administration. So don't sit here and cut semantics with me about a Republican or a fucking Democrat, because you're all fucking dirty some way, somehow, some other, if it has money talking up your ass. Just saying.
Thank you, Sandra. And we've shared a lot, and things like this, it matters and they need to be said. So I'm going to close up, but I want to thank you and just real quick highlight what we've covered, not even, but touch on Sandra Myre. She's a survivor. She had her own experience with the police when they tried to kill her. And then she's talking about her loved one, Shawn Billinger. And you shared so much with us. And I want to tell people this is her first time sharing like this in an interview type and talking with me. So thank you. You
Sorry,
want to
I was
share?
emotional. Yeah.
No, it's okay. And that's what this is for. And people got to expect that we're going to, like, it's a good thing we're not out here doing some real crazy shit, like crazier, because this is our true experiences. Like, we've lived through this. You've been through a lot.
Well, the bottom line is we put labels on people, and we got to stop doing the labels and cut, like I said, to the semantics of coming down with the empathy and how we want to be treated and how our family members be treated. If you would want your family member treated like that, don't do it. Just don't do
Yeah.
it. You know, don't be doing it. Even if you're a cop, if you're a doctor, whoever you are, you have the utmost respect for that person you're dealing with, and you have some sympathy. Otherwise, don't be touching them. Don't be talking to them. Move it along. You have
Yeah.
no right doing that to anybody, regardless. Whoever you are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
all it comes down to.
Yes. Yes.
And
Okay, Sandra, I gotta run with the babies. I'm sorry.
baby,
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna talk to you a little later. And thank you for doing this with me, and take care, everybody.
you have a good day.
You too.